The Australian Central Bank has some huge news coming, and if you trade any of the AUD currency pairs, this video is very important to watch. We're going to be talking about some trade setups and ideas going into this large news event going on later on today. Let's get into it. What's up, you guys? Welcome back to the channel. Today we're taking a look at AUD currency pairs, and I wanted to talk about these especially with the big news that is coming up pretty soon in markets. Later on today, there is going to be a central bank meeting where essentially they're going to be talking about rates and interest rates for Australia. And when that happens, that has the potential to seriously move a lot of markets. So I wanted to pull up some AUD currency pairs today and see if we could find some trade setups going into this news, as well as talk about a little bit of my thoughts with this event. Now, of course, interest rate decisions for any currency pair have the potential to wildly move prices. You could see things spike to the upside, spike to the downside. Heck, sometimes I even think it can go backwards. You never know, right? Things can go crazy in markets when you get interest rate decisions or concepts like this. And right now, there's a lot of pressure on the Australian Central Bank to try and keep up with some of the other competitive central banks around the world. Right now, we've seen the dollar strengthen dramatically. So if we pull up DXY for a second, you can see the market has been going up very substantially for the dollar recently, basically with the Fed coming out with a very strong, expectation to rate hike and all the sort of things that we see as being an attractive thing for USD pairs. Well, now that we look at AUDUSD, we see a little bit of bullishness coming into the Australian dollar today. And the question is the RBA going to make some stances on some stuff to actually try and stay competitive and keep up with the rest of the world? Right now, lately, the expectation has been not great. However, we recently saw some good jobs numbers out of Australia, and there may be some potential bullishness to keep in mind. Now, of course, there are several different currency pairs we could talk about. So let's talk about Aussie dollar. I just mentioned that still overall, I'm very bullish on the US dollar. And so if price does pop up on AUDUSD, if we get some hawkish news, if we get some spikes to the upside, I will probably look at this on the 4-hour chart as an opportunity to potentially sell at resistance. We have nice structure there at 0.7110, let's call it, up there in pink, and a nice downward structure overall to this market. So if we do kind of come into play there may be opportunities, in my opinion, to sell the Aussie dollar, because even if something does come out as hawkish, overall, I still think that compared to the US dollar, it's probably not the most impressive. Now, there could be surprises and things that are unexpected with any big news event like this, but in terms of targets for the Aussie dollar, let's talk about some. I think that if you expect the Aussie dollar to become bearish and overall to roll over, especially against the dollar, then a reasonable target could be a move back on down to 0.70, which is right around our previous low where we started to find this support. Again, very much dependent on what the RBA has to say later on today when that news comes out. But the main idea being here, a pullback to resistance could come into play for this currency pair. Now, let's take a look at Euro-Aussie. Now, this is a little bit different. I'm actually more on the short side of this one as well, with the idea of actually favoring the Australian dollar against the euro, as I am quite bearish. So what I'm looking for here is that if we do actually see a breakout to the downside there against the euro, if the Aussie dollar is able to get a nice pop to the downside, or basically if we're looking at Euro-Aussie, if we're saying EA, if we see Australia come out with some very hawkish sounding stuff, some things that cause a spike for the Aussie dollar, I think that there may be the potential to actually short the euro and go long the Australian dollar on that good news after we get a break and retest kind of concept. For example, we can make some markups and talk about this key level that we have as a demand zone currently. If we see that same level hold and break out to the downside, right? If we see it break and looking for it to hold as a resistance point, there may be some great risk to reward in terms of places where we could see the Euro-Aussie go. So for example, if we're taking a look at this pair and we're saying a couple targets in mind could be first stop, let me see if I can get my horizontal ray, first main stop being down there at 1.5750, let's call it, and then of course a longer term target there at the previous low at 1.56. I think there's some reasonable risk to reward in terms of that setup. So again, main idea, we'll break this down into components. Step one, waiting for a a big break underneath structure, right? We'd like to see a failure at this level of support. Number two, a retest opportunity, right? With a retest of that same structure, looking to sell into that newly made supply zone and targeting levels like structure here at 1.5750 and 1.56 as a potential place where the Euro Aussie could go after this news event. Now, again, I'm not sure what the news is going to bring. The news could bring some unexpected volatility. Maybe it goes flying the upside. Maybe the RBA disappoints massively and the jobs numbers were not enough and all this sort of stuff, and we see the Euro Aussie fly high. You know, we'll have to reevaluate at that point. But what I'm talking about is if we do see a hawkish event in which we see the euro weaken relative to the Australian dollar, they may be break and retest opportunities targeting these previous structure lows. Now, here's an interesting one, Pound Aussie. This one, I had some requests to talk about Pound Aussie. From a structure standpoint, it looks like it's retesting a very strong area. And truthfully, in my opinion here, I actually kind of favor the pound. The pound is already on its way to rate hikes. It seems like it's ahead of the game in terms of the Australian dollar for the time being. So as price came down to this level today, you can already see before I even got this video rolling, we've seen a spike off of 1.90. And so it seems like that one has kind of already sailed away, but maybe we get a retest later on this afternoon. I would say this is a beautiful setup to the long side overall. Looking at the momentum here, you can see, we start putting on some moving averages. You've got some nice upward structure on this market. And so again, we could do our concept of placing targets at the previous high there. And let's see if we can scroll out and find anything there. Really nothing else to focus on other than that previous top. So as we pull back, what I also would like to say is that if you're looking at this thing on the 4-hour chart, you get your fibs going from swing low to swing high, get that going, and you can kind of see where we just tagged that 50% level. In fact, I'm kind of kicking myself for missing that trade because that looks really beautiful on the long side there, favoring that pound, which seems to be kind of a little bit of a safer currency in respect to central bank policy right now. Overall, looking for this thing to strengthen and maybe a recent target being up there at the previous high, somewhere at 1.92 in that region. I'd probably be looking to try and scale out of positions and trying to move up my stop loss, etc. if I was in this trade. So a couple ideas there. Now here is some more interesting ones. Aussie yen. Pulling up Aussie yen, I'm really interested to see if we get something hawkish. I'd only really be interested in buy trades on this pair. So if we get something like a breakout here and a retest, then absolutely could start seeing a reversal of this trend, and there's plenty where this thing could go. Short-term targets up there at 82, then you've got levels like 82.8, you've got levels like 83.75, and of course you've got that previous top there at 84.3. So lots of room for this one to go if it does decide to start breaking out. Again, this is very much dependent on a strong, if we get hawkish news from RBA later on today with their big news event. I believe it is 8 o'clock or 8:30 a.m. for Australian time, but it's like 10:30 at night here in the United States where I'm currently at. So again, strength could be breakout retest opportunities, looking for a retest of some of this structure here. I think that there's reasonable upside to this pair if we can get a breakout of this downward channel that we see currently kind of oppressing the Aussie yen. Now, that's kind of one that I want to talk about, but also Aussie Swiss, another very interesting and very similar currency pair to that. Couple targets where things could start if you get the, again, we'll keep saying it, if we get something very hawkish from the RBA, some targets could be 0.66, 0.665, 0.667, right? With the idea being if we can break some structure here, because right now we're still in a downward market. We're still seeing control by the bears. If we start seeing a breakout of these concepts, you could definitely see some reversals and going into that. Now, of course, I am looking at this currency pair or several of these currency pairs for potential trade setups. And so if I do actually end up taking a position, I will share it within our private Discord channel. All the trades that I take in full detail get dropped in there. In fact, what I'll do is I'll see if I can pull up an example. So last week, I believe let's see if I can find it. So if I pull this up, last week I went long on dollar yen. So there was the trade with the full breakdown. It's not just a copy signal service or anything like that. The real goal is to share the full breakdowns of what myself and our other top traders inside of the group are doing. So there's the trade, full breakdown, trade analysis, technical and fundamental breakdowns of why I'm taking a long or short on any particular currency or currency pair. And then, updates throughout the trade. So I closed out dollar yen last week, really good trade. I'm still still waiting to get into something, but again, what we're talking about here could be some trade opportunities that I'm interested in looking at myself. So if you are interested in seeing the trades that I'm taking, and more importantly, why I'm taking them, make sure to join our Discord down below in the description. Sign up using that promo code and you'll get a discount for being a subscriber and supporter here on the YouTube channel. Thank you very much, guys, for watching. If you enjoyed this video, hit the like button, thumbs up it, and subscribe if you're new. We'll see you next time. What's up, guys? Thanks for watching today's video. There are more videos available on our channel here and here, so go ahead and click into that for some more free trading content. With that said, thanks for watching. We'll see you back next time.